sadly, most of these guys probably are veterans with PTSD, and
Right.
they just don't know where to find themselves in society.
Yeah,
They have had a hard time readjusting.
right. I mean, there's that, and also I have a friend who lives up in I think near Elkhart, Mishawaka area. He posted something on Facebook yesterday, kind of calling out the VA that he wasn't getting the help he needed. And this guy is, living and thriving and doing really well. But yeah, the VA is just kind of screwing him over, it sounds like. So, I mean, down there in Nashville with everything else they got going on, it could be the same thing.
Right.
So, sucks though.
We parked the car in that parking lot, and Lucy's like, well, I wasn't going to take my purse with me, but now... I was like,
now
well,
I am.
I wasn't going to take my third mag with me, but now...
Right. That's funny.
Right, let me just load this and get started.
I hope that bill that Trump passed through to help the VA like reorganize and restructure, I hope that does wonders.
Time will tell, right?
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Trim the beard?
Oh, I trimmed it a lot.
Yeah, say this.
I mean, a lot. So the guy that I go to, he's here in Fort Wayne. He's at West Central Barber.
All right.
His name's Brent, and he's the guy who makes me look semi-attractive, Like, I'm not giving him much to work with. But anyways, the bad thing about going there is you have to reserve your spot. Otherwise, he's going to fill up like that, And, I go out of town on business. And so, I got my haircut there probably 2 months ago or something like that. And the next time I was going out on business, I'm like, I need to see when I can get my haircut. And there was no spots available whatsoever. So I just kind of let the beard grow out. I just trimmed it up underneath myself, which is not a good thing. And so, it was like 2 months, and finally he posted yesterday on Facebook. He said, "Hey, I got an opening at 9 o'clock or 9:30 this morning. Get it while you can." So I was first one on there, and
Nice.
But this is normally how I like to keep my facial hair. I mean, I used to have it like super.
I wish
thick
I could
and
do
full.
that.
I mean, it's nice, but whenever I'm in class, I'm sparring with someone and grappling, like it gets pulled, its hair gets everywhere. It's
Right.
just a pain. I do enjoy how I look in it though, but it's just a lot of work. So plus it's like super curly, It's not just like straight and looks awesome.
Right.
It's not that way at all. Like if I want to have it straight and everything, I gotta like take a brush with the blow dryer and like comb it out and make sure. That's too much work.
Yeah, I don't have time for that.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Put a little beard oil in it and brush it and call it good.
Nice. I went to my niece's birthday party over the weekend, and I have an acquaintance that I know from high school who they're friends, and he came there, and he has like this awesome beard, and he sells like beard products and everything. But one of the presents was like this glitter slime, so I was trying to get him to a glitter beard, but he wasn't going for it. I was like, whatever.
It's probably like, nothing touches my beard.
Like, you're no fun.
So about this time last year is when I had just a really full and long beard. I got tagged in so many Facebook posts with the jingle bells that people would hang from it.
Oh, yes.
That and glitter beard and like all this stuff for the holidays. And I was like, man, I already don't want to do that. Stop tagging me in that stuff. So then I found out that there's an option that you can have on Facebook where you have to approve posts that you're tagged in. Otherwise, it won't let you. If you say deny, it won't post it on your wall.
Right.
Which is great.
Well, that's how I have mine set up.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that until I don't know, a year or two ago.
I gave special permissions to like my family.
Yeah.
And like close friends. So if like Steve were to like tag me in something, he has permission. Like Lindsay has permission. Then all my family.
My family is the reason I set it up that way. I mean, Be honest about it, I guess. But yeah.
Lindsay gets mad at me because she'll be like, you haven't approved any of my posts.
Oh,
I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll go through and approve the 50 that you've done this week. Approve.
Well, like when you guys come home with like 400 vacation photos, and then she uploads them like 80 at a time, you know, and it's just like,
yeah.
I was going through vacation photos, like, oh, those are nice, and all of a sudden, like, here's 80 more. Here's 80 more.
It happens. All right, well, I think we're ready. Hopefully everything's working properly.
Cool.
You guys ready?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm sitting Indian style, and then it looks like I'm on like a floating carpet.
You just look massive.
That's awesome.
Like, people think I was joking about your height. No, he's a big dude. All right, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to try out all these cool little things I have. So this is...
Steve got toys this week.
This is a podcast episode / test for all the streaming stuff.
Love it.
So we have 3 people watching, so let's check it out. All right.
Cool.
You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Citizen, please shelter in place. The Wasted Ammo podcast is about to begin.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Wasted Ammo podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Stephen Broyles. Over on mic 2 is the great Eric Mavis. And today is October 25th, 2018, and you are listening to episode 217. Eric, it's been a little while. How was your vacation?
It was wonderful. It was nice to get away. It would have been nicer to fly. We drove 8 hours one day, 8 hours the next. It's about a little over 1,200 miles down there, 16 hours of driving. I put 3,000 miles on my car in 8 days. And,
nice.
Oh, goodness.
But the thing was a tank the whole way. Dirty roads, lots of debris. Ran over a few things. Saw a dead mountain lion. That was interesting. That was roadkill. There was a first for that.
A dead mountain lion?
Yeah.
Huh. That's a memory.
Lucy wanted to actually like circle around and then like go see it again just to make sure it was a mountain lion.
Let's go
I'm
pet it.
I'm like, it probably was. And she's like, and then after that she was inspecting every, like, usually she's like, ew, gross, when it's like splattered guts like all over 3 lanes, you know? But now she was like starting to inspect what roadkill was, like hoping to see another mountain lion, which was kind of fun.
That's kind of fun.
Wow.
But we went to Tampa, Florida, stayed with my brother-in-law. He is the assistant manager at a hospital, assistant manager of the ER at a hospital down there. And lives in a very nice neighborhood in a nice house and has a guest room for us and said we're welcome anytime and lets us use his TV and his sofa and just make ourselves at home. So it's nice to have a free place to stay while we're down there. We hit the Florida Aquarium in Tampa. Dolphin excursion ride was out though because maintenance on the boat, I guess, which is important. And got a new watch for an anniversary gift.
Nice. Is that it right there?
Yep, I'm wearing it. And next day we went to Siesta Key. We were there for all day, pretty much sun up to sundown, which was just nice to chill out at a beach. Spent the next day at the neighborhood pool. And when I say neighborhood pool, like it looks like, you know, when you see people's mansions and like the pool in the backyard, and it's like this huge landscaped, like nice thing. That's kind of like how it was. And we were the only ones there for at least 6 hours. Had the place to ourselves.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
That's really cool.
And the day after that, we went to, we did John's Pass, which is at Madeira Beach. And it's just some local shops. There's Bubba Gump's restaurant there. We hit that, and we got a spot that looks over a cove, and there's dolphins and pelicans fishing and boats and stuff like that. It's just a beautiful spot on Earth. Did some shopping and then head over to Madeira Beach and finished our day over there. So just a lot of relaxing and hitting some of the same spots we did last year. And then on the way home, we drove 10 hours to Nashville and got in about 7 p.m. and went to this place called The Diner. And it's a 6-story restaurant. And each level is a different venue, which was pretty cool. And so we went to the 6th floor, the top floor, which had the best view, but it was also a full fresh sushi bar and clams and oysters and you name it. Plus they had like a full bar menu. So we ate there. I tried a local brew. It was embarrassing. It was Nashville Brew House, something like that. And it was like a blonde type beer.
My kind of beer.
Right. But it had like this, I don't know, it was like a vanilla citrus overtaste. Like, I don't know. It was interesting. It was still good. I'd probably try something different, but I had some good sushi. I was all about it. Lucy hates it, but she took one for the team and got a salad, like a bar salad. And nice. I had my sushi. And
I thought you said she took for the team and actually ate some sushi.
Oh, she did try some.
Okay, good.
She did try some. I got it was called Philadelphia sushi, and it's smoked salmon, avocado, and cream cheese.
Sounds amazing.
It was like I had 8 rolls, and I could have done like 20. I probably would have been sick all night, but I would have eaten 20. Then we walked around downtown Nashville for a few hours. The Nashville Predators Stadium was down there. We took a walk around that. Across the river, you could see the Nissan Stadium where the Tennessee Titans play. Just cool nightlife. They have 3 or 4 bridges that are all lit up differently, have different history behind them. And then the downtown Broadway section was about 3 blocks. Neon lights, karaoke bars, live band bars, homeless people, you name it. I mean, it was a crazy time. And definitely my vigilance was at an all-time high, and it kept bothering Lucy. And she was like, "Are you okay? Like, you doing all right?" And I'm like, "I'll worry about us. Like, you just make sure you have fun." And she's like, "Well, I want you to have fun too." I'm like, "I am." In a different way. But some interesting scenarios where I felt like I wanted to step in and intervene, where there were some predatory males or homeless people that were imposing themselves on a group of girls that were kind of 3 sheets to the wind anyway. No one was really using their best judgment. Had a couple of drunk chicks walk past me, be like, "High five," and completely missed my hand. And
wow,
nice.
Yeah, it was something else. So it was an experience. Let's put it that way. Positive or negative, I'm not sure, but it was an experience.
A little both.
Yeah.
It's fine.
There was a candy place that was open, and it was like some handmade, like from scratch candies. So we perused that place. It seemed to be the only decent place that was open, like as far as like decent, respectable. But you've got, I don't know, there was 3 or 4 different country singers that own bars down there, have bars named after them. And they all had live bands, and everyone trying to make it big. Lucy's like, "We should write down the names of all the bands we heard, and then when they make it big, be like, we heard them first." I was like, none of that matters to me.
You've got like their autographs.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a little bit better.
Yeah. And came home last night and back into the grind this morning. Daughter on the bus.
In the black site.
Kids to school. Took my mom out for breakfast. She watched the kids and did our daily routine. My dad popped in for 3 days to help out and then had to go back home. And, yeah. I did get in some Call of Duty Black Ops this afternoon for about 45 minutes.
Oh, getting your training in?
And trying to get my training going. I jumped into multiplayer. It was finally downloaded after a week. But
sorry, that was funny because it took me like 2 days to download this game.
Right.
Wow.
And then there was just like a 10 gig update.
Yes.
And that took me all day. I'm like, come on, like I have high speed internet.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of glad. Like I bought the game the day before we left. I jumped on it that night. Got to play some Blackout for, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours. Played with some cool Russian dudes. Didn't understand a word they were saying, but we totally killed it as a team. We finished second in 2 consecutive games, as in squads. And anyway, then something else came up and it had to download. And so the PlayStation has a feature where if something's downloading, it'll go into rest mode, like sleep mode, but it'll still be downloading in the background. So that's cool because it was like the entire week I was gone, it was just downloading and updating, downloading and updating. So,
wow. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a cool game, though. I'm excited to start playing with our listeners.
Yeah, me too.
That sounded really weird. I'm excited to game with our listeners.
Start playing. I'm excited to toy around.
I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah. I said it once when I was chatting with someone online. They're like, that sounds a little weird. I'm like, yeah, really shouldn't say that. I'll try to remember that.
Yeah.
So today we have Kyle Rogers back into the podcast.
Hey,
Kyle,
hey.
welcome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the invite coming back.
Yeah, so if you are watching this live, it's actually Tuesday night, and Kyle went to one of our undisclosed locations here. This is one of the black sites. Kyle, don't tell anyone.
I'm not.
We'll have to kill you.
Yeah, certainly. I want to live.
Yeah. But this is it. This is the studio. What
I
do you
love
think?
it. Oh, it's a definite change from the last time that I was here, but an awesome upgrade.
Awesome.
Like really, really cool. I want to come back tomorrow.
You can for conflicted.
I mean, and the wife's working tomorrow.
Oh, come on. Families.
Family, adulting, it's hard.
Only if we were all single.
Not me. I love you so much, honey. So much.
Think she'll listen?
Oh, absolutely, she
Yeah,
will.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean what I said either. So
See, our wives don't listen, so I think we're
Gotcha.
somewhat safe.
Yeah, no, mine absolutely will.
I'm waiting till the day where, like, if I were to die early or young, like die next week or something like that, and then Lucy would want to listen to the sound of my voice. She has 217 podcasts to listen to. I don't know if she's going to like everything I have to say. But that thought has crossed my mind.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's out there.
Do I say anything bad?
I don't really remember. I don't know.
To go back and audit all 215, 17, 219 episodes. Oh, well.
Man, y'all are screwed.
The thing
I'll
is,
just remove them all.
the thing is, Lucy will love it and hate it.
No.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It'll be, oh, Eric, one of those kind of.
She'll remember the date and she'll like, oh, yeah, we fought the night before. That's why he's saying this stuff right now.
And he's not saying anything else
Nope,
the rest of the episode.
we're done.
So,
And this is live.
what are we talking about today?
Well, we've had Kyle on the show before.
Yes.
But for those listeners who don't know who you are, you just want to give a brief introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the owner and instructor at Ascent Defense Academy here in Fort Wayne. And we do all sorts of training. We do a holistic self-defense approach. And recently we started doing firearms training, which is kind of our number one gig right now. It's also, I would say, tied with number one gig because we are also doing a women's self-defense class and wine night this Saturday. And that's kind of a huge deal because women, they love wine for whatever reason. But anyways, aside from that,
Well,
that's...
hold on. My wife did just go do like a wine and canvas night.
Oh, did? Oh,
So she
yeah.
like does some painting, they drink some wine.
Yeah.
And have a good old time. So
Mainly drinking wine, a little bit of painting, I imagine.
well, I'll
Yeah.
show you the painting when we get done.
And this is one of those times that your wife is going to be listening to the podcast. Really, Steve?
She'll probably agree though.
Yeah, gotcha. But I mean, that's pretty much it. This is my third time being back. I did a regular episode, then a black site episode, and now I'm back. Something happened over there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was.
Oh,
Continue
cool.
on.
That's really all I gotta say. Sorry, squirrel, right?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
So awesome. So today you joined us to talk about active killers.
I did, yes.
And this is something that I think every single one of our past 216 some podcast episodes have somewhat touched on.
Sure.
So it's like this huge, expansive topic.
Oh, absolutely it is. Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about it, but we're just going to skim the surface once again.
Yeah, once again. Maybe this could be like a 2-part episode,
maybe.
Something like that, or 6-part miniseries or something like that, you know. But yeah, so active killer events and how to strategize for the defense of those events. Unfortunately, there are people in this world that just want to hurt people. I mean, evil exists. I said that last time I was here. Evil exists, and it's up to people like us to help combat it whenever that situation arises. The bad thing about it is, if you ever are in that situation, you are already behind the 8 ball. They already have a plan going in that they're going to hurt somebody, and you have to be reactive to it. So it's up to, excuse me, it's up to us to train and to be in that citizen defender mindset when we go out and we're among the public, being proactive with reading people, being proactive with looking at the exits, looking at devices around the area that we could use, to combat against those evil people, like fire extinguishers, or my favorite. I don't know why I thought of this one day, but there was a loud noise downstairs, and I was in the bathroom, and my first instinct was to grab the cover off the toilet, off the back of the toilet, to grab that. I grabbed that. I'm going downstairs with this thing, and my wife just dropped some dishes in the kitchen, and she's like, "What were you gonna do with that?" I'm like, "I'm about to knock somebody out." But anyways, you have to be in the mindset whenever you go out to not be a hero, but to safely and efficiently win that situation. Whether it be taking someone out with your concealed pistol or getting people out of that situation and into safety, whatever needs to happen, you have to be ready for it. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today, a little bit.
All right, so do you want to give a plug for your friend who wrote the book that we're kind of like?
Yeah, absolutely. I know this person very well. He owns Endeavor Defense and Fitness out in Columbus, Ohio. His name's Aaron Giannetti. And he wrote a book called How to Survive an Active Killer, an honest look at your role in the age of mass violence. And it's I've read this book probably almost 3 times, I think, and it is a very all-encompassing look at active killer events, from what you should do when the police get there, looking for escape routes, focusing on physical conditioning, not saying here's a workout you should do, but saying you need to be like your physical ability. You need to be able to run 100 yards, pick someone up, bring them back, do the same thing over and over again, and then fight somebody. Just trying to improve that mindset of I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Just he's trying to get you in the mindset that you need to be ready for really anything. And that's why I like it, because I agree with a ton of stuff in this book. It's really good. And if anyone out there is remotely interested in gaining more knowledge on the subject, I would highly recommend the book. Again, the book's title is How to Survive an Active Killer, an honest look at your role in the age of mass violence, by Aaron Giannetti.
And I will put a link to that in the show notes of this episode, so Perfect. Go check that out. So I actually bought the book, and I didn't have much time to get through it, but I did like the first 2 chapters or so. Mm-hmm. And when he started out, he said there was a big difference between a mass shooting and an active killer.
Yep.
I thought that was interesting, because a mass shooting, he defines it as when 4 or more people are shot.
Right.
And that can be it's something that is somewhat expected. So if there's like a drug deal gone bad, 4 people get shot, like people expect that to happen.
Right.
But with an active killer, like when you get up in the morning, you put on your suit and tie, you go to work, you're not expecting someone to come in there with a grudge against a coworker and you to get shot.
Yeah. Well, that's and mainly that's the reason, or the reason that people had that mindset is because they are animals of repetition, right? They get up in the morning, they brush their teeth, comb their hair, take a shower, get dressed, drive to work, and just do their job for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, and then go home. I mean, it's just a cycle, you know. And whenever someone throws you off of that cycle by coming in and pointing a gun in your face, now you're awake, and now you have to react. And that's where, unfortunately, there's a lot of people, majority of people, I would say, who don't know how to deal with that whatsoever. And I'm not even saying I'm perfect at it, because I'm not. But I feel like I'm, a lot more vigilant whenever, like you were when you were in Nashville. Yeah. You were a lot more vigilant and aware of what was going on because you have that mindset.
It's one of those things, like whenever you see, I don't know, since we all have kids, you ever seen a toddler that's overstimulated? And they're just going crazy, like there's too many things going on, and then they eventually just like crash.
Collapse on the floor.
Yeah, they're just whining.
Yep.
Then, poof. Like that's how I was. Like there was just so much going on. I wonder how I looked to other people. I either looked like tough and intimidating, but I looked nice enough for some drunk chicks to want to give me a high five, or I looked like a deer in headlights and was like,
Yep.
But it was like my wife, we come out of this candy store and she's like, oh, stand in front of the candy store. And I'm like, she's like, smile. I'm like, like, I don't know how else to describe it, but we're standing at this street corner and I noticed that her purse was unzipped, and I'm like, zip up your purse. She's like, really? All I have to do is yank it off my arm. And I'm like, still doesn't hurt to zip it up, you know?
Yeah.
Don't make it easy for him.
Right. I'm like, don't look like a target. And that was kind of going through my head. But it was so funny because all the things we talked about are all like processing from all those memory spaces inside my head, all coming to the forefront of every single one of my thoughts every second.
Yep.
And it's just, what an environment. And I'm glad I had that experience. And I was freezing cold on top of it because it was like 35 degrees with a breeze.
Yeah.
And like everyone else is. And we're just coming back from like 98 degrees in Florida.
Right.
And like none of my warm stuff was clean. I didn't bring a jacket. And I mean, I wish I had, because I would have been more comfortable. But on top of mentally stimulated, like I'm also like, my hands are frozen. I've got my P99 and 2 spare mags in my left pocket. And I'm like, okay, could I do this right now? If I had to go, are my hands warm enough? Like, have I prepared myself in the elements enough to do all the things that I want to do? And you know how when you're cold, you get lethargic too. Like all your movements are slower.
Yep.
You have less feeling in your extremities. Like all that stuff's going through my head.
Right.
And by the way, there were no cops to be found. We got back to the parking lot we were at, and Lucy's like, oh, there's some police, and there's 3 squad cars. All the guys are standing outside their squad cars talking and laughing. And they're at least 400 yards away from where all the action is at. And I'm like, that's a hell of a sprint to try to get to something.
Right.
Something going down. Like, that's time consuming. They'll be arriving and they'll be out of breath. It's cold, so take that into consideration with your lung endurance. Like, all that stuff. So yeah, if there was something that went down, it was pretty much like, yeah, I'll take my chances in the opposite direction, going down like that dark, scary alley towards my car.
Yeah.
Rather than to like engage in something,
Right.
So being hyper aware, did that just like drain you?
Yeah, I was pretty tired. And of course, it was our anniversary, so some things are expected when you get back to the hotel, which I was fully capable of doing.
Like
we
what?
We all have children. Which, by the way, she was like, "So, are we making baby number 5 tonight?" And I'm like, "No."
I told you she was going to tell you to, or at least ask for number 5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's where my wife is leaning towards right now. Like, she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna have number 5, but like next year." I'm like, "Well, I got all next year to practice, so there's that."
No, I brought the proper PPE, personal protective equipment.
Nice. Good for you, buddy.
But after that, I crashed.
Yeah.
But getting back on topic here, the reason I asked that because Kyle was talking about, people just going throughout their everyday motions over and over again. You get used to it. Like, you become less aware because you're in your comfort zone.
Right.
And here you were completely outside your comfort zone. You're in a bigger city than Fort Wayne. So everything was just probably going crazy in your head.
Right. It was definitely outside my normal routine.
Yeah. But a local there, like, that's probably nothing to them. Like, drunks and homeless people walking around, like, that's just normal.
Right. Yep. And that's where if someone were to have seen me, they'd been like, "Whoa, calm down, dude. Like, nothing's going to happen to you. Like, I've been doing this for years."
Yeah.
So you weren't being very gray man.
I was wearing flannel.
Well, the good thing is no one probably even noticed.
That's the thing. But like the footwear definitely gave it away because like all the girls are wearing like jeans and cowgirl boots or some kind of like designer type boot. All the guys are in jeans and either cowboy boots or some kind of like Doc Martens or whatever. Yeah. And I'm wearing my black Nike tennis shoes and Lucy head-on flip-flops. Because that's all we had.
Yeah.
It was kind of a last-minute thing. And we were like, well, let's try something new. Let's try like a bigger city. And we just picked Nashville, and that was what we got. 30-degree weather, and she's wearing sandals, and I don't have a jacket, and everyone else has coats and stuff. So I think we definitely stood out. But I think everyone was too drunk to really notice.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, if there was an active killer situation where you were at, because you were in somewhere new, someplace different, you probably would have had kind of a heads up, like, because you'd be super hyper aware.
That's a good thing to bring up. I think that I would have been a lot more I would have already been in that mindset. I wouldn't have had to transition.
Right.
I just had one beer when everyone else is like 3 sheets to the wind. I was ready, and you save time transitioning your mental state from, code alcohol to, condition orange or condition red. They're going to take a lot longer to make that move mentally.
Yeah, for sure.
Where for me, it would have been, I'm there. And I had exits. I had, stores that would have been good to hide out in. The only thing I didn't like was the diner. We were on the 6th floor, and I mean, there was stairs and there was an elevator. But it was pretty low key. We're actually like 2 blocks away from the busy center. It's just once we got into that big city area, it was neon lights for 3 blocks, and it was pitch black in every other direction.
Yeah.
I had like every time we crossed a street, I was planning out exits and retreats, and so.
So Kyle,
yep.
When it comes to like defending against an active killer, is awareness the number one thing in your mind?
It's really hard for me to list them out in priority, right? Being aware is obviously important. And in Aaron Janae's book, he actually has a list of like a step-by-step, I guess if you want to call it that, plan for an active killer event. He has it: prepare, recognize, get away, keep away, fight like hell, give medical care, and interact with responding officers. So being aware obviously is super important. But like I said last time on your show, you want to be on that line, maybe to a little left of that line, of being aware but not paranoid. If you walk around in paranoia every single day, you're gonna, be walking around with wide eyes and looking really crazy.
You're gonna fry yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, like you're gonna be so super aware that you're gonna miss something. Whereas if you were like Eric was in Nashville, aware of what's going on and ready to react at a moment's notice, that's kind of where you want to be. So, from what it sounds like, you did a really good job, which is cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I was thinking one thing I would add to the list when Steve, you asked that question of Kyle is resourcefulness. And I think being able to, kind of be MacGyver, find the toilet seat. His mind went to something. It was like, what in this bathroom can I use?
That's it.
As either a method of self-defense, but also as a weapon. Toilet seat. In my bathroom, I probably would have went for like the Lysol spray, like a disorienting tool.
Yeah.
It's being able to improvise in a moment's notice. I think is key also in like an active killer situation.
Yeah.
I would have grabbed my Glock behind the mirror.
Oh, sweet! I have to see that.
No, it's not.
Oh man, come on!
It's like, how many changes have you made in a week while I was gone?
No kidding.
I'm surprised you don't have a new co-host.
For so long.
Yeah, I'm surprised Andrew Bobo wasn't sitting right here when I walked in tonight.
You just like raised up a couple levels. Like, wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
And then no, I'm like, fine.
Well, I'll show you something after the show.
Perfect.
Oh, okay.
So kind of going in line with what Eric has been describing in his Nashville adventures. There's a line in Aaron's book. I apologize. It says you can avoid most violent situations simply by not going to stupid places with stupid people to do stupid things. And there is something to be said about that. I was in college in the cross country and track team. My coach said nothing good happens after 12. And he's kind of right. I mean, I stayed out past 12 several times, and yeah, he's right. Nothing good happens after 12, pretty much. So just making sure that you're in the right place at the right time, and that you're home and in a safe place at the right time, that's going to alleviate a ton of problems for you. There might be moments, though, in your life that the violence is just unavoidable. And you have to deal with those appropriately. And that's kind of where training and having that preparedness mindset comes in. So they're just kind of moving right along, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Some people are 100% against violence. I mean, we see them online all the time. 100% against violence. What do you do? What do those people do if keeping yourself away from violence, what do you do if that's not an option? And I have a little scenario for you. Someone comes into your work, starts killing people at random. The active killer, that person turns a corner and you're 3 feet from them. What do you do? Since you're 100% against violence, do you cower down and be killed? Or do you try and go for them? What are you going to do in that situation? And Aaron has something else in his book, and I'm going to keep on quoting it because this is kind of where my mindset is at. Self-defense is violence, but violence used for the right reasons. And that line actually in my book is underlined quite a bit, just because I mean that mindset is where I'm at. I'm not against violence whatsoever, but it's going to be justified and it will be used in self-defense. So in this scenario, reasoning is probably not going to work, and you have to be aware and you have to be ready for it. But again, not be paranoid. You got to walk that line.
Yeah, that's why I never understood about some people who are completely against violence. Like, I understand that, I can respect that,
right? But
you can't help it if violence comes to you.
Absolutely.
So what's your game plan now?
Yeah, it's not your choice.
Yeah. And I don't see violence as being bad. I see the intent behind the violence as what's bad. Okay. Is your intent to save yourself, save your family, save lives? To me, that's It's virtuous violence.
Right.
No, is it your intent to kill, harm, and maim innocent people? Well, that's evil violence. It just depends on what's in your heart. What's your intent?
Well, when last time we had Kyle on, we talked about that warrior mentality. And it's like that fight or flight mentality. And then not everyone is inherently born with a warrior mentality.
Right.
Where for us, we conceal carry, we prepare, we work out these scenarios, we read these types of books because we want to be ready in the moment, because we are warriors, but only when we're called upon to be so. And the whole tactical buffalo type thing. When the wolves attack, we're there to defend the herd, but we don't go out looking for it.
Right.
And I've seen surveillance videos where what you described, a similar situation happens, where they turn the corner and there's somebody that isn't a warrior mentality type person, and they cower and they get shot.
Yep.
And they scream and cover their head and fetal position, plead, don't shoot, and they get shot. When you're within 3 feet, I'm going to try to get control of the weapon. I'm going to go for that gun.
For sure.
I'm going to put my hand right on that slide, and so the next time if it fires, it's a malfunction. I mean, my hand's bleeding, but it's one of those things. It eliminates the weapon, and now it's just you and me. And that's what, to me, firearmed is all about as well. It's learning how to, in that scenario-based training, how to manipulate the weapon hand, or to manipulate the weapon to get control.
Sure.
To keep transitional space if you need to.
Yeah, but on the other hand, right? So, I mean, you said earlier that, there are people who are just not of that mindset. They're just not, that they will cower down, they will be killed. So let's take the office scenario, right? How does a company prepare for that type of event? I can tell you the majority of them don't. They do a fire drill a year, and that's really it. It's up to the companies to take that initiative for the most part. I trust me, I understand it's also up to the individual too, and that's kind of who I'm trying to help right now. But we're also trying to help out companies in active killer events. If you have a company take that initiative and do an active killer training, then you're reaching every single one of your employees all at once, and you're giving them the tools in their tool belt to take care of that situation. There are schools that do active killer events, and we'll hopefully talk about it a little bit later. But there's again, being aware and not paranoid. People are sometimes just oblivious. Maybe they don't want to think about the bad things that can happen to them. Me, I'm not like that whatsoever. I sit and every Sunday morning I'm in church, and it's a small church here in Indiana that there's maybe 30 people go to, and I'm probably one of the youngest ones there. Definitely the most fit, and more than likely the one with the most warrior mentality, I guess, if you want to call it that. And I think in my head all the time, what am I going to do if someone comes in, and they're being aggressive? Am I going to shoot them? There's a room full of people. Most, if not all of them, are untrained in defensive tactics. So what are my options? What about my wife who's sitting next to me? What will she do? I mean, her and I have talked about this, but not really soon enough. Before we had this conversation, she assumed that I would try to intercept the active killer, so she could go downstairs and grab the children and go over to the parsonage. Thankfully, she was correct. But whenever I was growing up, there were plenty of commercials about families having a fire plan. What to do in case there's a fire, and practice fire drills in your home. Why is a family active killer plan overlooked? And it's kind of up to people like us to train our family and say, hey, if we're in this situation, here's roughly what's going to have to go down, you know, and there's you just have to talk about that with your family, and also, you know, if anybody's listening to this, then they need to go and talk to their company saying, hey, here's what I'm concerned about. What are you going to do about this? And that's a good way to get their companies in that same mindset.
Yeah, Bo says that his company put out a video called Run, Hide, and Fight.
Yeah.
Have you seen those videos? I think wasn't that like a big thing a couple years ago?
Yep.
Well,
so you run away from the threat, you hide, and you only fight if necessary?
Yeah.
Yes.
Walmart, without getting into too much detail, they have a training video that's about 8 minutes long, and that it was put on by a university, made by college students down in Texas, and they preach avoid, deny, defend. And pretty much it's a situation where a shooter walks into a Walmart and starts shooting, and it's basically how to, if you're on the floor, how to avoid that person.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they show like walking through racks or like running to like the back rooms, and if you're near an exit, run out the exit door, let the fire alarm go off, whatever. And that's the whole avoid. And then it gets into like conference room areas, like the back offices, and you know, closing the doors, and if they don't have a lock, you barricade, turn out the lights, hide against the wall nearest to the door to avoid being seen through if the door has a window. You know, make it look like nobody's there. And defend is if you have nowhere to run and hide, your escape exit is blocked, then you have the right to defend yourself. And Walmart will not deny you that right, because it's as a human, it is your legal right to defend yourself.
Yep.
The example they give is a guy hiding in between some storage racking with a fire extinguisher, and he hits the guy with the fire extinguisher, and then another guy runs in and like gets control of the shotgun. It's a good video, and it's an annual training that we do. It's once a year, like our fire drills once a year. And I'm the one that conducts all of those drills. That's my department. And if it was up to me, we'd have those drills like once a month or once a quarter.
Yep.
Because when we do conduct them, there is a lot to be desired, which comes down to me creating a way to teach, to train everybody without consuming man hours and hurting our cases per hour and
sure
productivity and like all that kind of stuff.
The business stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's tricky, but I'm working on some things. But yeah, for most companies that do active shooter, active killer situations, it is some sort of get out of harm's way, barricade yourself or somehow like avoid that person, and then either defend yourself.
Right. So with the going kind of back to the run, hide, fight, there's a line, and I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but there's a line in Aaron's book that basically, in a sense, says you're not safe until you are back home, right? If you run and hide, if you lock yourself inside a closet where in that building where the active killer is, you're not safe whatsoever. I mean, what if he's a janitor? He's got a key and he can open the door up, or he shoots the lock and comes in, whatever. What are you going to do in that situation? So I've done a little bit of research on this, and there's a lot of schools that if there's an active killer event and the students are outside, like on the playground, their policy was to bring the kids back inside the school and lock them inside the classroom for accountability purposes, right? My thought process is, why would you bring them back into the school where the active killer is? Have them run, I mean, you've got a ton of kids, and like herding cats sometimes,
Right.
and you're going back into where the danger's at. That should not be the answer. Kind of the same thing going back to this run, hide, fight thing. If you're in a locked closet and that killer comes in and you're in the very back of that closet, all he has to do is just point the gun and then shoot. So in that situation, if that is your only option is to lock yourself in that closet, why not be right towards the door where you can get hands on that gun or hands on that person and at least have a chance to fight, And that's, again, that's the mentality that I'm in.
Right.
But I also don't put myself in a lot of situations where that's going to be an issue.
I was just thinking about how upset I would be if his school was involved in an active shooter.
Yeah.
And their policy was to bring the kids back in and he died. Like, it's giving me chills thinking about it.
Sure.
And his school is only a mile from me. So maybe I
Right.
should teach him the way.
Well,
I mean, he's only 6, but I'm sure he can do it.
right.
Just run that way.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Douglas High School, Parkland, Florida, they went through hell earlier this year. And they actually had an active shooter training before that event went down. And what's crazy about it, so I listened to this podcast called This American Life. And last week, they had podcast episode 659, which is a lot. And they actually interviewed teachers from this high school, teachers who were there. And one teacher had previous active killer training at another high school. And they said that the crazy thing about it was they had students running out of, I think, building 11 was the freshman hall. They had students running out of it because that's where the shooter was, but they also had students running towards it because the gunfire was, like the sound of it was deflecting off the quad where the students were and making it sound like they were in the opposite direction, so they were actually running towards that building.
Wow.
Yeah. But so humans second guess ourselves all the time, especially whenever a stressful situation happens, right? So we tried to attempt to be rational with out of the ordinary events. And in Aaron's book, he says, if you're in a classroom and you hear several loud bangs that aren't in rhythm and are definitely not natural, it may be gunshots. It may not be, of course, but it will benefit you to not allow your mind to convince you that absolutely nothing is wrong, and that only human beings can look directly at something, have all the information they need to make an accurate prediction, perhaps even momentarily make the accurate prediction and then say it isn't so. Right?
Yeah.
So
The guy can't be.
Disbelief.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that podcast that I listened to last week, that same mentality was displayed. So there was a teacher, her name was Ashley, and she says that she was standing next to her door, pulling her doorstop out, and she heard 2 pops, right? Pop, pop. It was Valentine's Day. I don't know if you remember that or not, but it was Valentine's Day when it happened. And she says, it wasn't rapid fire. It was just like a pop, pop. And she wasn't startled by it because, like I said, it's Valentine's Day. And she said, you don't know if it's like a balloon popping or what. And then the fire alarm went off very quickly. So in her mind, she automatically went to, okay, it's Valentine's Day. That's probably just a balloon, And then
You justify it.
Exactly. She justified that sound. She in her possibly deep subconscious, she didn't want to go there in her mind, hey, this could be an active killer event. She didn't want to do that. So I thought that was very interesting. I had just read that part in that book and then listened to that podcast, and it kind of I had to share that. I mean, humans are going to second guess yourselves if you're in that stressful situation. you're going to try and reason as best you can. And unfortunately, you may take too much time trying to reason with yourself when those precious moments could count.
Yeah, she's lucky the fire alarm went off so quickly.
Yeah, well, the fire alarm actually went off because that shooter was hitting tiles or something like that, and the dust came up into the smoke detector.
Wow.
Yeah. Which there was also a shooting, I think, was it Newtown, where they actually pulled the fire alarm and students ran out, and then they started shooting students out in the open.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Weren't they were, I'm not sure if it was Newtown, but they were just a couple of kids. One kid pulled the fire alarm, and there was another kid like out in the bushes with a rifle and just started shooting people as they came out. It's crazy.
It is. So now since that happened out in Parkland, they've had 7 fire alarms go off since that shooting happened. And in all 7, they don't even go outside. They just stay in the building. So what they do is their school resource officers verify if there's a fire or not. If there's a fire, then they'll have the kids go out.
This doesn't seem like a great idea.
I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, they're
Right.
scared of getting shot, so verify if there is a fire or not, and then,
Hopefully it's not bad.
adjust from there.
It's honestly, it's all a matter of odds. You know, like, how many schools are there in America, and how many of them have actually had like your chances of being in a active shooter situation in your school it's like, what is it, 0.0005%, something
Probably
like that.
pretty low, yeah.
You know, super low. So the probability of having a fire is, I would assume, much higher.
Right.
You know, what are you training for? Like, it's a bad analogy, but you've hit the lottery. What are the chances of it happening again?
Sure.
You know, now obviously they're putting all these protocols in place to make sure it doesn't happen again, or having more resource officers inside the school instead of outside. But I don't know, like, to me, you're setting yourself up for failure again, but this time it'll be a fire. Just my mentality.
I understand where you're coming from. It also depends on what the layout of the school is.
Yeah.
You know, this school, Parkland, in particular, I believe has 11 or 12 buildings and like 3,000 students. Like, it's a huge school.
Right.
So if there's a fire in one building, then they don't need to evacuate every single kid.
Very true.
You know, the fire alarm goes off, and that resource officer who is assigned to that building will then verify, yes, no, it's there, and then, like I said, they could evacuate the students in that building only and still be okay-ish. So I understand where you're coming from. Absolutely, I do. I think if all the schools did that, it would vastly depend on how their building is laid out.
Right.
You know, if the high school I was in, if it went up in flames and someone tried to verify it, there'd be people dead for sure. For sure.
Well, I think the takeaway here is, like, there's no 100% safe place.
No, there's not.
Right? And in this book, I remember reading a part that Aaron said that the safer you think the location is, the better target it is for a mass killer. Because a mass killer, they want to instill that fear.
Yep.
They want to cause damage. They want their name to be shown on the news. So the more unsuspected place that they are going to shoot up, the better.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, looking for a soft target is kind of what they want to do. That's why schools are, unfortunately, the target of choice. You know, schools, churches, malls. People are, you know, targets where there's a lot of people who are relatively unarmed. They're not going to go inside a gun store and start shooting unless they are insanely crazy.
I think I saw one video.
I think I did too, actually.
I'm not sure if it was one of those like fake videos or whatever.
Yeah.
But the guy threw on a mask, and there was a jewelry store next to a gun store.
I saw that one.
And he walked into the wrong one and got shot like by 4 different people.
Was that on 1,000 Ways to Die?
Maybe.
Remember
it
that
might
show?
have been. Yeah.
I think it was that show. Oh, throwback. Man.
Now I need to like research and see if that's even real.
Yeah. That's going to be in the show notes. I'm going to go ahead and call you out on that.
Okay, do it. I'll try to find it.
Oh, well, Eric, whenever you were in Nashville, your situational awareness was pretty high.
Yeah.
Right? Because you weren't in an unfamiliar place. You were dealing with a group of people that you didn't know how they were going to act. They were drunk. They were maybe mentally handicapped a little bit. You don't know. But you weren't walking around with your headphones in, right? Listening to music. You were paying attention to where you were walking. You were people watching, right?
Yeah.
So people watching is a very, very good skill to have. It's fun. I find it fun. I really do. So what I mean by people watching is seeing what their demeanor is. What are they wearing? Where are their hands? How is their face, right? Are they well kept, or are they, looking a little bit disheveled? Where are their hands? Obviously, the hands are what do the damage. They throw punches, they throw. You can throw elbows with your arms, I guess, but they also can reach for weapons too. So watching people's hands is a very, very good indicator of what's could possibly go down. And so another one is like, what stance are they standing in? Are they just standing in a passive stance where, they're, could be knocked over, they're kind of unbalanced, or do they have their left foot forward a little bit and right foot back, kind of like an athletic stance? Or how are they talking? Are they being joyful the way that they're talking? Are they mad, happy, irritated? Are they content? And then something I like to do is I like to internally describe that person as if I were talking to the police. Like in my head, at let's say at the mall, I see Eric at the mall. Okay, I see Eric, looks a pretty well-kept guy, looks to be about 34, 35 years old. He was wearing a Tampa Bay Buccaneers hat, and he has black frame glasses. He's about 6'3", probably be around 215 pounds. He has a We the People tattoo on his right forearm, wearing a flannel shirt and faded blue jeans. That's essentially a good description of what you should say to the police whenever they ask you about that individual person. Obviously, it helps with me because it's Eric sitting right here. But if you're ever out and you're people watching, pick one person and describe them internally in your head. It's really good practice for maintaining your awareness and practicing that kind of stuff.
What's interesting is while you're talking about this, I'm describing people that I can still describe people that I saw.
Yeah, that's awesome.
On the street.
Yeah.
I can describe at least 10 people.
Sure.
Head to toe.
That's amazing.
So it's like like this one homeless guy I was going to, I nearly stepped in because this girl was looking like straight ahead, eyes open, dilated, like deer in headlights. She was with a group of girls, but this dude wouldn't leave her alone. And they're walking down the street, and he was 6'1", gray beard, no mustache, slightly balding on top. He's like middle of the crown. He had on a like a true blue. It wasn't like a royal blue. It was like a, I don't know, but it wasn't navy.
Yeah.
A blue windbreaker with 2 white stripes on like shoulders to sleeve. Black pants and white Velcro strap shoes, and green eyes, late 50s, not very well kept, looked dirty, and I would guess he was homeless.
Yeah.
Like I could do that with at least a dozen people.
Sure.
But that's hypervigilance.
It is.
And like it sticks with you.
Yep.
It's almost scarring in a way.
Yeah, but and the thing is people like us tend to do that. Unfortunately, people, even though they might people watch, they will not pick out specific characteristics and study that person. It's a very, very good tool to have. I started doing it a couple of years ago. I was in a little bit of a crazy situation, nothing insane, but I was, I had to be aware of what was going on, and I had to, say, okay, I know exactly what this guy looked like. I know exactly how his, facial hair was. He had, a gold tooth in the front, and I had to describe him internally in my head all the way down. And ever since that situation happened, I was like, you know what, this would be a good thing to practice. So, it's if you people watch, like I said, internally describe them as if you were talking to the police. It's a very good skill to have, honestly. But yeah, that's what I got for that one.
It's a good tip. I'm gonna start it.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's incredibly fun.
It is. Oh, so I love people watching. I love people watching so much. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's kind of, for a lot of people, might be human nature to people watch instinctively. We're just taking it to another level. Not like a crazy level, but just a slight level above.
Yeah.
So don't follow them home or anything.
Not unless you want to get shot or get the cops called on you. I'm not advocating stalking. Let's be clear about that.
I like the way I do it is I go head to toe and then eye contact.
Yeah, certainly.
And the eye contact is like a screenshot. It's like a little snapshot in my brain, and for whatever reason, it burns it in.
Well, you look for concealed carry too, though.
Right. Which there was so much going on. I wasn't really looking at concealed carry. I was looking at demeanor, hand positioning, and stature kind of goes with demeanor.
Yep.
But there was so many things from people almost like beggars sitting down on the ground to people in second story balconies yelling out the window. There was so much going on. I did a couple belt checks on people when we were stopped, and I could actually and there was other people waiting to cross the street with us. I was doing belt checks. But for the most part, everyone had on heavier coats. It was incredibly hard to tell. And so I kind of just stopped worrying about that and worried more about demeanor. But yeah, just walking around, it was screenshot,
yep,
screenshot. But if I made eye contact with you, I can describe you.
So according to this book, the one thing that doesn't work so well is stereotyping.
Right.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because he goes over a couple of different active shooter events or active killer events and describes the type of person who committed the crimes.
Yep.
And it ranges, it's mostly men, but it ranges from men, women, all races. I mean,
yep.
Obviously there might be some races, I think most serial killers are white men.
Right.
But for the most part,
30s or something.
It can vary wildly.
Yeah, for sure. And it kind of just all depends on that situation, going, if you have a school shooting, more than likely it could be a student there, if it's an office, it's probably somebody who worked in that office. The couple who, I forget what company it was, out in California, where it was a couple and they just started mowing people down. You remember what company that was? It was a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. I forget now. Mm-hmm. Anyways, it was a different race, other than white, and it was a couple, and they went in and started shooting. I think it's shooting people. Memory's not the greatest. Anyways, you are correct. These shootings, it depends on what the target is, who it is, and all that kind of stuff. It can be anybody who is deranged or wants to be vengeful or,
So why do you think, and who knows, but I just want to get your opinion.
Yeah.
When you have someone going and say into an office space with the intent to kill their wife because he found out his wife's cheating on him.
Sure.
Why do they end up taking other people with them?
Maybe because they might be in the way.
Yeah.
You know, maybe because, and let's take that situation. Maybe these other people knew about it and didn't tell him.
Like he has like a hit list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
thought maybe it was like adrenaline's pumping. Like you have one goal. Like you said, maybe someone's in the way.
Right.
I mean, they could just be walking by you. But
exactly. Yeah. I mean, and who knows what goes through their minds.
Yeah.
Besides them, and they might not even know to the fullest extent. Yeah, they could be in the way, or they could just be, you know, I have to get to the second story, and every single person I see, they're going to get blasted. I don't know. I just know that I feel bad for those people, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate that they are in that violent situation, and if they have, even if they have training, I'm not saying that they're going to be successful 100% of the time, but it can't hurt, you know? It's violence is going to happen. You just have to be as ready for it as you can be.
I mean, that's what we talk about in this show. A lot of it is just doing like mental training.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like just thinking about it, think about what your actions, like what would you do in that instance.
Yep.
Just doing that a couple times a year, a week, or whatever.
Right.
Like that might stop you from going in complete condition black if something happens.
Sure.
Have you guys ever seen movies where like something plays out and it's like, holy crap, they just killed that person, and then that scene ends and it goes back to like where it started?
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And it's just like that, but that's what they thought about in their mind. Like that's what played out in their mind.
Yep.
Do you guys ever do that? You ever have those moments?
Oh yeah.
Where like I will be sitting at work in the middle of a meeting, and I'll be like, well, what if an active shooter just came in here? And then I'd like, dead. Like, like, what am I doing? And like, I get so engrossed in it, almost like it's actually happening, to the point where I feel like I want to move and do something. And then I snap out of it, and I'm back in the meeting.
You're just in the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. And that's why I brought up my mentality in church. Every Sunday, I sit there and I think about that. It's, you know, it's not something that I'm sitting and I'm like, you know, reaching for my belt and like kind of looking around and stuff. I sit there and I listen to what my father-in-law is saying, and every once in a while I'll zone out and be like, okay, so I have 2 openings 15 and 20 feet away from me to my front and left, and then probably about 40 feet to my back and left, you know, 7 o'clock. There's another opening. That's where the main entrance is, and that's the only, you know, entrance and exits out of the sanctuary. What happens if someone comes from my 7 o'clock? Between me and that door, there's probably 15 people that sit between us. You know, if somebody comes in and starts shooting, am I really going to stand up, draw my pistol, and shoot that person with 15 people in front of me? Probably not.
Right.
I'm going to have to do something to get out and confront that person a lot closer than 40 feet away. Just because people are unpredictable in stressful situations, right? So being in that or you're playing those scenarios out in your head, I think is healthy, because it helps you make a loose plan, as it were.
Yeah. Because chances are 99.9% of the chance is it's not going to happen that way.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's, I even think about stuff like, okay, what if he throws a grenade through the window? Like, what am I going to do about it? You know, like something.
Who am I getting behind?
Throw the Bible at it. Put the Bible on it. Be like, no.
Yeah. I mean, I try to think about a lot of different scenarios. And I don't know why. It's just the church is just the one place that I think about the most, you know, like even sitting right here, if somebody in our black site finds us, what am I going to do in here? I got a bat right here. I could really work for a swing or two.
Too bad it's not real.
I know. I realized that when I picked it up. Oh, it's like, what is this, foam?
Yeah, it's like a Halloween toy.
It's a prop.
Oh, it is shaky. I'm not going to swing that at all.
But it's actually really fun to hold while you're podcasting.
We have these beautiful guns right here. Are you guys looking at these beauties? Glock 19X.
I like that. That's on your side, and the 1911's on my side.
I did that for you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So you look at it.
Well,
I'm outnumbered. I didn't bring my other 1911 because we got Kyle's G19 here.
No, sir. 23.
23.
Yep. 23. This is a 40 cal.
I'm a 40 guy, a 40 caliber guy.
Nice.
Just kidding.
You know, I was actually going to bring my wife's pistol. She has a 1911 Colt Defender with Crimson Trace grips on it. But the last time I took her pistol out without telling her, she got kind of mad. So I'll leave it at home. Anyways, going back to it. So kind of the next point I wanted to make is physical ability. And it's something I've talked about quite a bit just because, I mean, it's important, you know. You have these people out there. I'm not judgmental whatsoever. I'm the least judgmental person you'll ever meet. But you have people out there carrying weapons, and they have just a huge beer belly just over their pants, you know. And the thing that drives me crazy is cops. I see a lot of cops that are like that. Like, if I go up to you right now and just punch you in the face and run away, what are you gonna? You're not gonna catch me. Come on, you know. It's. Anyways, it's a little
my dad always says the radio is faster than your car. So
yeah, okay. I don't know. It's just a little tangent I went on.
Right,
Sorry.
no, you're fine.
So Aaron says in his book, if you're voluntarily out of shape and overweight, you are limiting your chances of survival, and I could not agree with that more. Being in shape is obviously good for your overall health, but it is very important in self-defense. You know, do you have enough stamina to tackle an active killer, grapple for their weapon while they're trying to not be killed by you or beaten up by you? You know, can you actually do that? Are you able to run down a hallway into a room and barricade the door and kick out a window and climb through it? Are you physically able to pull yourself up and physically, like, the shape of you fit through that window? The answer is no. Then you got to start working out and eating healthy. And then, like I said earlier, are you able to move wounded people to different locations? And physical ability is massive when it comes to self-defense and also obviously active killer events as well.
It's your number one tool. That's what I say.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And, you know, it like I said, it just irritates me whenever I see concealed carriers who are severely out of shape. They are of the mindset of, I'll just shoot them, and that drives me insane.
It's a scary mindset.
It is. The first thing you're going to do is pull your pistol out and shoot somebody? Okay. All right. Sure, idiot.
Might end up in some legal troubles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I try not to get so mad. That just irritates me.
He's like, I'm not judging, but idiots.
I'm the least judgmental person you'll ever meet, but you guys are morons.
Oh, my goodness. Sorry about that.
No, I thought that was hilarious.
Fun.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that was one of Eric's biggest takeaway from the firearm classes that we attended was just how exhausting it is to beat on a bag for a minute.
Right.
And then run 200 meters and try to shoot your gun. Like,
yep,
that's a workout.
It is.
Yeah.
It's something that could happen, though, and that's why we train it. You know, and for instance, this Saturday you talked earlier about being in Nashville and it was cold and you know your dexterity in your fingers weren't what they normally were because it was cold outside. This Saturday at class, I'm actually going to be working outside. Like, people are going to wear their jackets and it's going to be cold and we're going to be shooting targets and stuff like that. It's going to be amazing.
This is the first one you're going to be able to attend. Are you going to go on Saturday?
I am going to try to make it. I need
make
to
a
see,
long lunch.
I need to see what work looks like this weekend.
Yeah.
So
I'll talk with Adams and have him release you.
Yeah, he gives me the old wink and be like, "Going to lunch today?" You know.
That's awesome.
So
that's cool.
I thought we could wrap it up talking about the type of weapons that active killers use.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and kind of talk about some strategies and what to expect with each one.
Sure.
The first one is obviously firearms.
Yep.
And he starts off by saying that number one thing here is that people just don't understand firearms, so they're scared of them.
That's right.
They don't know how they work.
That's right. So going off on a slight tangent on that, so several years ago I bought my first AR, It's a Wyndham AR, $600 gun I bought from Walmart. It was amazing. I loved it. 223. It was a caliber, obviously. I took a picture of it, sent it to my dad, and he's like, "Holy crap, you're gonna blow a hole in a deer with that thing." I'm like, "But you hunt with the 7mm mag." I'm like, "There's no what are you talking about? It's a small caliber rifle, It's a 223, and you're hunting with a freaking rhino killer, So those type of weapons have a bad rap. Obviously, they get in the hands of the wrong people, they can have devastating results. It's the public are untrained with weapons for the most part, and whenever they see it, they automatically think that it's going to shoot 2,000 rounds a minute and unlimited ammo and has a chainsaw attachment.
Yeah.
So, if you're in an active killer event, you have to understand that for the most part, it's going to be a semi-automatic weapon. It's not going to be fully automatic unless someone has an NFA. Then, sure, might be automatic. I don't know. But semi-automatic, it's one shot at a time per trigger squeeze. Everybody who listens to this podcast knows exactly what I'm talking about. But in that event, the people have to realize it's a single shot per trigger squeeze. If it's a pistol like mine, they just have to take it and squeeze it. One shot may go off. It depends if it's if the slide's all the way forward. If it's back even just a fraction, that firing pin will not reach that bullet whatsoever, and it's not going to go off, and that weapon's now jammed. So I wouldn't say that you have to know every single weapons platform out there, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
Know what the gun can do, at least.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree. If they do have an AR and they are shooting with that, obviously you can't really just push the slide and they won't fire. You have to actually do some work and take it away, which is tough.
I did see an article about putting your hand over the ejection port to keep the
jam
round from
yep.
Which is like the fastest way to disable an AR.
Yeah, but I would also caveat that by saying, are you going to be able to put your hand over the ejection port in that event?
Yeah.
If you can.
I'm just saying that was saying that's the fastest way to do it.
Gotcha.
Obviously, you have to be close enough to be able to manipulate to the right movements.
If you got close.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can wait for... You want to
go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say you can wait for malfunctions if you plan on getting close. You can wait for them to reload. He says here a skilled shooter can reload within 5 seconds. Less if they don't know what they're doing. Which a lot of these shooters, like these mass shooting events, the people they don't really know the firearms very well. Yeah,
so there was actually there was a shooting last week in Crimea. Did you see that?
You sent me the link. I have not looked at it yet.
So it was a student in Crimea. He had a shotgun, and I think he killed 16 people, but he ended up, reloading it, obviously, because it's a shotgun, but ended up reloading it, and he was there for 15 minutes before police showed up. I think by the time he started shooting and by the time he actually killed himself, so 15 minutes. So he had ample time to keep on reloading and stuff. So if it depends on if there's resistance that shooter meets, he may or may not reload. But yeah, reloading a weapon isn't really all that difficult. You just have to know how to do it for the most part. And that guy last week in Crimea, I think he purchased his shotgun like a couple days before, so he didn't have a whole lot of time to practice with it, but he was probably familiar with it a little bit, I imagine.
You think it would take a decent amount of time for him to reload?
I would think so. I mean, with my 870, I can put 5 or 6 shells in there in probably 30 seconds, and that's going semi-fast. I'm not saying on a speed load or anything, but it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to load a shotgun. It doesn't really take a whole lot of effort to load my Glock or my wife's 1911. So, but I would say that there are intricacies of it. If you take that Colt right there and you have the thumb safety on and you go to rack it, obviously it's not going to do that, you know. So a little bit you have to understand how the weapon works in order to load it. And an untrained person in a stressful environment such as the active killer, if he's trying to reload it and kill more people, he might not be able to.
Yeah, it's opportunity right there.
Absolutely.
Another thing that he mentioned is just because a gun is pointed at you, it doesn't mean that you're dead.
Right.
Most people have trouble hitting a 10x10 target at like 7 yards. So it's easier to miss than most people think, I guess you could say.
It is, yeah.
So I think the point here being is just because someone walks into a room, and obviously our listeners pretty much know this is for everyone who you might share this with, but just because someone walks in a room with a firearm doesn't mean you're dead.
Right.
You have a chance. You just have to fight for it.
You do. And one of the displays that I like to do it in my class is I take a SIRT pistol and I'm, 3 yards away from the target, and I squeeze the trigger, laser comes out at the end, and I move the barrel an inch side to side, and it hits the target every single time from 3 yards away. I move back to like 25, 30 yards away, and I move it the same, and the spray pattern is like crazy, and that's that little movement because of whatever, because of trigger squeeze, because of improper grip, whatever the case may be, could cause that person to miss. So Aaron's right. Even though they point the gun straight at you doesn't always mean that you're going to get hit. He
also says just because you're shot doesn't mean you're dead. Fight
exactly.
to the end.
Yep, that's right. I say that all the time, especially whenever we do knife defense. I have the AccuStrike knives that beep whenever you get struck with them.
Eric loves those things.
He does. He really does. So
I hear those noises in my sleep.
PTSD.
Yeah. But, so we do work with those knives, with those training knives, and, you'll hear them beep quite often. And almost every single time I'll tell my students, hey, keep working, always be working. Just because you got stabbed doesn't mean that you're dead. Keep working, trying to get that knife out of their hand and control that situation. So, again, he's right. Just because you get shot doesn't mean that you're automatically going to fall over and die.
And I think that goes back to your training as well, because something that you kept catching me on in your class was if I messed up a draw, I kind of stopped.
Right.
I gave up.
Yep.
And you're like, no, finish it.
Yep.
Because in real life, if you mess up, you have to finish it.
Absolutely. And so we don't want to have you in that mindset of, okay, I'm going to draw. Oh, crap, I missed my draw, and then just stop, right? So a couple of years ago, there was a story that came out about a police officer who disarmed a suspect, disarmed his pistol, and then just gave it right back to him.
I heard that, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's because in training, he was doing all of these disarms and was really good at them, obviously. But every single time, he would just give a training pistol back to his training partner. And
do it again.
Yeah. So in that real-life situation, in the back of his mind, he disarmed it and just automatically gave it back to the victim. Yeah, or to the suspect.
And then his partner ended up shooting the guy.
Yeah. Yep, sure did.
I think we covered that story
a
while ago.
You did.
There was another one similar to it about training scars, and it was cops that had revolvers.
Oh, picking up the brass?
Picking up the brass from the pocket?
And they were both dead, but their pockets were full of brass.
Right.
Yeah, what was it? The police force wanted the brass to reload?
Right.
Or something like that. Or maybe it was just to keep the range clean.
Yeah.
But just doing that in training, they did it in real life and died with brass in their hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
So doing, like you said, in class, whenever you messed up, I didn't care. I wanted you to keep working through it and then get yourself out of the situation. So that way you don't develop those training scars and end up hurting yourself if it ever happens in the real world.
That's true. If we're going on the psychological side of the shooter themselves,
yep.
He says that firearms give them a sense of authority and power. It also will distance them from the deed and disconnects them from the act itself. It says it also allows someone that with slightly less resolve to cross the precipice into horrible action. And taken away that safety net, like that sense of authority by getting in their space and actually engaging them, can actually just completely shut them down.
Absolutely. And so in the research I've done, and I've used his book a little bit for it, there have been several active shooters that once they encounter resistance, they just quit. You know, they don't want resistance. They want an easy target. They want a soft target. They want to kill as many people as they can without any opposing force coming their way. Once they get it, there's been a lot of shooters that will just either kill themselves or throw the weapon down or whatever, you know. So just because they're going through the office, just because they're going through the mall, through the school, wherever they're at, shooting or stabbing, right? Because it's an active killer, not an active shooter. Whatever their weapon of choice is, there's a chance that if they encounter that resistance, that they will stop. It's just up to you to make that resistance efficient and not deadly on your side.
Yeah. Let's talk about knives now.
Perfect.
The thing here
talk about PTSD. Let's do it.
Calm down, Eric. You'll be fine. But he says that almost everyone knows how a knife works.
Yep. It's easy.
Yeah.
The pointy end goes into the other man.
That's it.
It's not to say you can't be skilled with the knife.
Right.
But, you know, a lot of people, they maybe never touched guns. They don't know how they work. Everyone's touched a knife.
Yep. I love peanut butter jelly.
You love peanut butter jelly.
Sorry. I saw a random squirrel again. I apologize.
But he says that the best solution for defending against a knife attack is to simply run away.
It is. I mean, because I have to be up close to you to stab you, right? If we're this far apart, I can run away and you're not going to catch me, you know? Now, the trick is, or the mindset you have to be in is, you know, what if your family's with you?
Right.
And you can't run away? Then you going to have to do something to stop that person from stabbing yourself, stabbing your family. They're obviously not right in the head, and they want to do some damage, so you have to hurry up and minimize that damage that he's going to do. Knives are scary, though. Knives are very real. It does not take a whole lot to hurt somebody with them. You stick the pointy end in flesh and you're done, or you stick the edge of the blade and you slice somebody and that's it, you know. But going along with the human body being able to take a couple of bullets, same thing with knife attacks, you know. Just because you get stabbed doesn't mean you're going to die just like that, you know. You can get stabbed several times and still fight. Now, it may suck. It probably will suck, but you can still do it.
I've seen some pictures of someone like after a knife fight,
Yep.
and it does not look fun.
It's messy.
It's vicious.
It's messy. It sucks. I kind of like you. I've seen lots of videos and lots of pictures of knife attacks, and they suck. So that's actually one of the reasons why I started doing CrossFit and self-defense on the same day, is because so every once in a while I'll come across a video that really just shakes me to my core, and typically it's a video of someone, like I saw one just the other day. This guy was just sitting in his chair, like in a barber shop or something like that, and a guy comes in the door, had a helmet on, like a motorcycle helmet on, and it comes in and just wham, hit him right in the chest and leaves, you know. And the guy, I assume he hit him in the heart, I don't know. The guy kind of gets up and realizes what happens and looks down and just falls over and starts to die. That sucks. You know, it was quick. So knife attacks are vicious, they suck. You have to do what you can to either distance yourself from it, if at all possible, and if you can't, you gotta fight like hell.
I think for me, the thing that I took away on this part of the book was like the psychological aspect of it for the person who's using a knife.
Yeah.
For a mass killing event, is that it just takes more resolve to use it.
Right.
Because you're up close and personal.
Yep.
You're going to feel the knife go in them. You're going to feel their skin tear. You're going to feel the blood on your hands. And these people, like, they expect to be up and close.
Right.
But they're not scared. They're not scared of people coming up to them and trying to stop them.
Right.
To me, that's scary.
It is absolutely scary. It sucks.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that at all.
Yeah. So technically, like, if you're in a mass stabbing event,
yeah,
should we look at that person as someone that's a little scarier than the next? Is this someone who won't care if they have a struggle with you?
I don't know. I mean, I think that it could go either way. I think that if you were to confront them either by choice or not by choice, you know, would they give up if you resist? I don't know. Maybe not, since they already have a knife and they're stabbing people.
Because, I mean, I don't want to get up close with the guy with the knife.
No, God, no.
Hopefully I'm in a place where I can have my firearm.
Yeah.
And hopefully I have the ability to use it.
It's, like, again, dealing with knives are definitely scary. If at all possible, my best advice would be to get out of that situation. You know, if that person is in a group of people and is actively stabbing people, hopefully they're running away too, so you don't have to worry about him mowing down too many people. But if he is, then I would say, if at all possible, people like us would have to do our best to take care of it. You know, whether it be with a pistol, whether it be, you know, tackling him to the ground and stomping on his jaw or whatever, you know, doing what we can to end that threat as immediately as possible.
So the last show that you were on, you talked about your knife training incident.
Yes.
Where you got stabbed
right
at a training session.
Yep.
Almost bled out, had to put a tourniquet on and everything.
That's it.
Had like a 4-hour surgery? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Did you have... I know you probably had a respect for blades before that.
Yeah.
But after that, did it change your mindset at all?
It definitely heightened it, for sure.
Yeah. Made it a little scarier?
It did. So it took a little while for me to, not physically, but mentally, be able to knife train again, you know? Just because, well, for one, I wasn't sure if the guy on the other side had a real knife or not.
Let me check your knife, sir.
Yeah. But, yeah, it made it real after that. I was like, you know what? A knife can do so much damage in such a short amount of time. The guy hit me one time and ripped it back for another shot, and he stabbed me through the radial artery. I was bleeding out profusely. Fortunately, there was somebody there to put a tourniquet on super quick, so I'm still here and I still have my arm. But knives are serious business. I would much rather come in contact with a gun than a knife. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But I also haven't been shot either, so which I'm not planning to. I don't want to compare, but you know, let's
try not to do that.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So after I got stabbed, I had a new respect for knives, and I don't want to get stabbed again, ever.
All right, let's move on to explosives, because unfortunately, bombs are no longer just battlefield type threats.
How did they come up with the idea of pressure cookers as bombs?
I have no idea.
Right,
I guess
Boston Marathon.
If someone has the intent, they'll find a way.
That's true.
In some ways with bombs, I respect the level of ingenuity.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit more work, a little more knowledge.
Honestly, it's something to be more, like, as horrific as all those events are.
Yep.
There's also a certain amount of marvel at it too, that somebody knows or thought outside the box to be able to do that.
I would be afraid that the first time I try to blow myself up.
Right. I mean, like,
I've seen those videos too.
Yeah, well, I mean, like there's a certain amount of guts that it takes to put it together, and then their guts are everywhere.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. That's true.
I think my favorite is a bunch of terrorists in a room sitting around talking, and then one of them blows up.
Yeah.
Like those are definitely.
Wasn't he like showing them how it works, and then he got a phone call?
I don't remember.
And then like detonate it,
That
something like
wouldn't-
that.
That wouldn't surprise me.
All right, so I mean, unfortunately, when it comes to bombs, it's really scary.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have a clear knowledge of that's a bomb, you know, I have to get away. That's really the only thing you can do is just run away.
Like, there's a bag sitting there, no one's around it.
Right.
I'm walking away, gonna tell a police officer.
Yeah, and you know, I fly every 2 or 3 months. I wouldn't say every time, but there's been dozens and dozens of times that I would see a backpack just laying around, you know, and what do you do in that situation? You know, there's been a couple times when I would go up to the nearest security and be like, hey, there's a backpack over there, and by the time it gets there, it's gone. You know, maybe somebody just put it down to walk away to check in with the ticket counter or whatever. But yeah, bombs, there's not a whole lot you can do. You just have to be aware of foreign objects, you know, laying around with nobody next to it, yeah. And get away if you can. But again, you're also could be walking that fine line of prepared versus paranoia.
It's a very thin line right now.
To throw it back to a previous podcast around the Paris attacks, we covered cover versus concealment. Yeah. As far as, you know, bomb threats, there was a Greg Ellifrit's article I think we covered, and then about a week later we had Uncle Drew on the show to talk about identifying potential bomb threats.
Gotcha. That's a good show.
Yeah. So we can throw some links for that.
Yeah, let's
as
do
well.
It. And I believe we talked about it in that episode, but Aaron here, he also mentions be cautious of secondary attacks, and we've seen that many times with like the Paris bombings.
Right.
You know, usually one bomb goes off. Well, I guess even the marathon bombings.
Yep.
So one bomb goes off, people rush in to help. There's another one waiting.
Yeah. It's tough, you know, and we were trained on the same thing whenever I deployed to Iraq. They called them daisy chains. You know, they would have one bomb would go off that would stop a convoy, and then all of a sudden, you know, a few minutes later, when everybody's trying to figure out what was going on, boom, there goes another one. So again, it goes to being situationally aware and being attentive to lots of things going on, especially like I would assume that most of the bombs that go off, there's lots of people around because they want as many people as possible dead, right? So if you're in that large group, you have to be aware of everything, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know all the details. I can't remember it, but there was a sad story when there was a series of Paris bombings where there was a lady who survived the initial bombing, got checked out by, you know, ambulance and EMTs and everything.
Yeah.
Probably spent hours there, got on a train to go back home, and there was like a secondary bomb on that train and she died.
Oh, that sucks.
Like, even trying to get away,
Man.
Right.
you might not make it. So to me, when it comes to a lot of this, it's luck.
Yeah, it is.
You know, I mean, it's
is.
one part training, but another part luck.
Fate.
Right.
Fate.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, yeah, there's some stories you're just like, well, that person was meant to die.
Yeah.
Right.
Damn fate.
I know.
Final destination.
Something in the news, I guess, the past couple years, I mean, it's always been a thing, but we're starting to see vehicles use as weapons.
Yeah.
And there's not much you can do about that either.
Nope.
Because cars honking and revving up, like, that's an everyday thing.
It is.
So it's hard to tell which one is not a threat and which one is a threat.
Yeah, I mean, so a month or two ago, I was in Chicago for, I think, 2 days, and 2 or 3 days. Every car there honks all the time. I'm sure of it. You know, like every car that goes down those stupid packed streets must lay on the horn the entire time. You know, how are you going to know if one's speeding towards you to kill you? You know, like I think it was a couple years ago in Austin, right? There was a person down there who, or was it OSU in Columbus?
Yeah, it was OSU.
OSU. You know, they ran over some people maliciously, obviously. And then I think didn't he get out of the car and start stabbing people too?
Yeah, because everyone thought it was an accident.
Yep.
So they got out to help the guy in the car because they thought maybe he had a stroke or something happened.
Right.
And he had a knife on him and started stabbing people.
Yeah. So
secondary attack.
Yeah, that sucks.
Initially reported as an active shooter.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
A lot of confusion.
Yep. Yeah. So with vehicles, I mean, there's one thing you can do is just get out of the way.
If you know it's coming.
Yeah, if you know it's coming. I don't know. I've never been chased with a car before, so I mean I can't really offer any personal experience. Thank God. That would just suck. I don't know.
Weren't there cities that after the Paris one, they were putting like those concrete pillars along the roads? That way the cars will be stopped no matter what if they hit them.
Right.
So all a pedestrian had to do was get past those pillars, and they should be okay.
Get to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Unless he then gets out with a gun or anything. And I think that's the last point I want to make is that it can be any combination of these threats.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's it's a lot of stuff to think about, and it's a lot of stuff it's a lot of different variations of scenarios that you can train. Again, unfortunately, but I think since that evil exists in this world, I think it's up to the normal human beings to be in that mindset and to train, but you also have to think about the legal side too. I mean, you are not law enforcement; you're a civilian. If you take someone out, you also have to think about the legal ramifications. I mean, Aaron says it in his book. You, as a civilian, have one goal and one goal only: protect yourself and your loved ones. If you add in potential legal repercussions, and you must accomplish that goal by attempting to avoid violence at all costs and only using as much force as needed. So, you put in everything. It's a lot to think about and a lot to dissolve. I mean, there's so much stuff that can land you in the world of hurt. It just sucks.
Yeah, and that's been, I think, our biggest challenge over the past couple of years is deciding when we get involved, because we've gone back and forth saying, yeah, we'd run in there. Depends on if we had our family or not, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
But like in the end, you engaging with your firearm puts you at a lot of risk.
It does.
And you need to weigh that risk with the number of lives that could possibly be saved, to like potential lawsuits.
Yep.
Potential jail time.
For sure. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard a story several years ago of there's this guy who broke into this woman's home, fell through her sunlight. Is that
the
skylight?
Skylight, thank you. Fell through her skylight, landed, broke his ankle, and then sued that woman and won.
I heard that. It made me mad when I heard it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, how is that even possible?
Yeah. He must have a really good lawyer.
I'm just saying,
don't
trust the legal system when it comes to your freedoms.
Absolutely.
Or your money, or your livelihood.
I don't know. It just, like I said, there's a lot of stuff to think about when it comes to active killer situations, but we have to do the best we can.
Yeah. Because like in my head, especially when I'm at like Walmart or Meijer or whatever, I go through those what if scenarios that we talk about.
Yep.
And I'm saying, okay, right now, I'm getting my tire changed at Walmart.
Yeah.
There's an exit right next to me. I hear shots on the other side of the building. I have my firearm.
Peace out.
Yeah. I'm not trained to go on like the offensive.
Right.
And get to a killer.
Yep.
I hate the idea that I don't want to say chickening out, but like inside me, that's what I feel like. I'm chickening out and I'm leaving. Even though I have the tools necessary to possibly save lives. But as a civilian, someone who doesn't have that kind of training, I think it's the best thing to do.
It is, and you are responsible for yourself and your family.
Yeah,
that's it. That's exactly what Aaron says in his book.
Yeah,
you're not law enforcement. You are not trained to go and look for the threat and hunt them down. You know, I love playing what if scenarios. In that situation, what if you hunt for that guy and there's also someone else hunting for him as well?
And we've seen that video.
Yeah.
What was it, a couple, wasn't it?
Yeah, in a Walmart.
Yeah. So the shooter engaged one suspect and didn't realize he had his wife or girlfriend with him. She shot him in the head.
Oh.
To me, it comes down to the whole the first rule: avoid. If the threat is not immediately avoidable,
Yep.
you'll probably have to engage. If it is immediately avoidable, take the exit.
Yep.
Because as sad as I would be to be walking out that door knowing that people are dying and I have the means to save their life, it's also not my job.
Right.
And I'm not going to put myself into that situation unless I have to, unless that threat is immediately in front of me and I have no way out, I have no exit, then I'm going to engage.
Right.
But if it's immediately avoidable...
Yeah, that's kind of what we've settled on
Yeah.
over the past 3 years.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, certainly. You have to worry about, one, getting yourself injured or killed, and two, legal repercussions afterwards.
Right.
I mean, if you have that clear option to leave and just deal with the psychological aspect afterwards of you being able, not willing, but able to go in and possibly de-escalate or stop that situation, you know, which one are you going to choose? I personally think I would choose to take the clear option and just leave, because I don't want to go possibly be killed, injured, or end up behind bars for several years, you know?
Yeah.
It sucks, but that's just the reality.
Yeah, I mean, and even if you did engage and it was a good shoot, no innocent people were harmed, that person still has a family.
Yep.
That person can still sue you.
Yep.
You can still end up in a world of hurt,
If
even though you did everything right.
Yeah. If you kill that person, their family can sue you.
Yeah. Or if you just wounded, like if you injured them and now they're paralyzed the rest of their life, I'm sure they could still sue you.
Yep.
Depending on where you live, I'm sure.
I got too many kids to take care of. I can't take care of nobody else.
Your wife's like, don't you dare. Don't engage.
I also find it interesting we have how many guns and how much training, and we don't plan on using any of it.
Nope. I really hope I
Only
don't.
if necessary.
Yeah.
I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And I hope if you've been sticking with us over the past 3 years now, you've seen our journey to that.
Yeah.
You know, we started carrying firearms. We kind of, like, it does give you that sense of empowerment.
Oh, yeah.
It makes you kind of feel like you're Superman when you're walking
Absolutely.
around.
You get that alpha male mentality.
Yeah. But, like, the more you dive into this world, the more stories that you see and, like, the horror stories that you see, like, the more you realize, like, this really is for that low probability, high consequence event that happens to me and my family.
Yep. That's exactly right. And that realization comes through via scenario training a lot, you know? That's why I love doing scenario training. You get to really see exactly what you would instinctively do without actively being in that situation. Yeah. So it's tough.
It is. So that's why I commend anyone that carries a firearm. We're definitely brothers, you know. We go through a lot. Well, that's pretty much all I had. I know we're like 2 hours into this baby.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Marathon. I love it. That's good stuff.
People on Thursday, they're going to love this show.
Yeah.
2 hours? What? But since we are live, we have... Oh, people now dropping off.
Yeah.
But we are live, so we could take some questions if anyone has them. You can ask now. And we'll give you guys a couple of minutes, I guess. Let me pull my phone out of here.
How many people are still on there? Does it?
I said there was like 7, then it dropped down to 3 all of a sudden.
Okay.
So they probably said, "Oh, they're wrapping up. I'm gone."
Yeah, certainly.
It's also 11:10.
Ooh,
It's
nice.
also bedtime for the East Coast.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see here. Let's see if there's anything in here. Phil says the guy he trained with had an actual knife. WTF?
Yeah, is Phil still on?
I believe so.
Okay, so yeah, Phil. Short story. The guy that what was his name? Phil. I'm sorry,
Yes.
I spaced for a second. I apologize. So yeah, the guy that I train with, I don't know who that guy is, or I didn't beforehand. Never met the guy before.
Now you do.
Now I know him pretty well. Unfortunately, I don't like him. Anyways, so squirrel. He did not realize that he grabbed his live carry blade. He thought he grabbed his training blade, and they look identical.
It's like a training pistol, like same shape, size,
That's right.
weight.
Yep, same everything. It should be a different color. I believe both of his are colored black. So he grabbed his live blade. We were doing a little drill, and as soon as that drill started, he went, brought his left hand to his shirt, pulled up his shirt, and grabbed the knife, and then did a grip and rip and stabbed me through the radial artery, radial nerve, 2 tendons, and a couple muscles in my arm. So right now the scar on my arm is about, what'd you say, 7 inches or so.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna
call that on the screen.
We're gonna call it 10 inches because
that.
So anyways, the scar on it's that long, and it's still not like the insides here are still not all the way healed. And that happened on April 7th. So. Knives are nasty, and I hate them.
He says, why would you bring a live blade to practice? And this is one of the reasons why in Kyle's firearm class, you get double checked before you come on the training mat.
I have a good answer to Phil's question. Because he's an idiot.
That's true. I mean,
and
that is that easy to confuse them.
And that is me being judgmental. I don't like that guy whatsoever.
He did pay all your medical expenses.
Yeah, come on. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Find that guy and hunt him down.
That is a nightmare.
Yeah. So, trauma training. That's the reason why we do trauma training in my class. Not only if you were ever in that situation of going to a training event and being stabbed or shot or whatever. Trauma training is very, very important. There was a kid on a playground who fell off monkey bars and severed an artery inside of his leg, and they would not have been able to save him if not for a tourniquet readily available. So, trauma training is not limited to firearms and active killer events, stuff like that. I mean, people get injured all the time. So, immediate casualty care is something that we do in our class.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like I said.
Okay, Partner 24 asks, how many rounds is appropriate for the average concealed carrier? People question my logic of a Glock 43 and the lack of capacity. Okay, so I have a couple of different answers to this. I've shot the Glock 43. I love it. It's a 6+1 or 7+1. Well, I have like the +3 base plates. Ooh, fancy. So I can get like 10.
But factory at 6+1.
6+1 factory. Okay, so 6+1. The average concealed carry shooting is 3 to 5 rounds. Okay, so technically you could get away with a revolver. However, and also magazine changes almost never happen in concealed carry shootings, right? It's mainly just you're drawing, bang, 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 and then that's it, right? Magazine changes almost never happen. Now, I carry a Glock 23. Okay, that has, I think it's 13+1 in there. I like extra rounds. I also carry an extra mag as well, just in case. If you carry a Glock 43, I would highly suggest carrying another magazine. But again, that's my personal opinion. You will probably get chastised for whatever pistol you carry. You're going to. If you carry community, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you carry a 1911 like he did, do you still carry that or no?
Occasionally.
Yeah, that's a P99, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, you carried a 1911 for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Ish. So, that's what? 7+1? Yeah. 8+1? Something like that?
7+1.
7+1. So, but it's also a 45. His is a 9mm 6+1. I don't know. You're going to get chastised anyway. I think as long as you're carrying, as long as you know how to shoot, as long as you train and you know how to handle a myriad of situations, then you'll be fine.
Yeah. I agree. When I carried my Glock 19,
Yeah.
I never carried a spare mag.
Right.
But now that I carry my 43,
Yep.
I do carry a spare mag.
Sure. It's all about preference. You know, like with these pants I have on right now, I can't carry my spare mag. You know, I have an inside the waistband spare magazine holder. With these pants, I can't do it. It's too tight with my pistol. But with other jeans, I can absolutely do it. So it all depends on what you're wearing too.
Yeah, and you have the Neo mag.
Yep, goes inside your pocket. You know, that definitely could work too.
Just train with it.
Yeah.
And Eric's advice to everyone is test the clothing that you're wearing with it every day to make sure that it grips great. Because when we were in Kyle's firearm class doing the live fire training, it pulled out, right?
Right. The clip came off
Yeah.
with the magazine.
Yeah.
Just like this. And there I was trying to put it in, and I'm trying to work on pulling this off. And so I actually had to hold the magazine, rip this off, and I threw it to the ground, and then put the magazine in.
Yeah.
So I actually had to adjust my retention on the gun in order to hold the mag to get this off. But it was because the shorts I was wearing were a very slick, smooth material.
Yeah.
And so the clip with the little grip pad on it didn't adhere to my clothes.
But you also handled it pretty well, though. I mean, it was quick reload still.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was awesome. And it didn't stop you.
And honestly, I don't train for that many malfunctions. The malfunctions I train for is like a jam.
Yeah.
Which on my P99 has never happened.
Right.
In live fire. Like I trained for it in dry fire.
Yeah.
But in live fire it never happened. So that was like the one thing I never trained for and still was able to fight through it. But it was one of those things like with Steve's draw.
Mm-hmm.
There was that I had to work through that mental switch to be like, oh, okay.
Sure.
You know? And then stop what you're doing. But like I had to stay with that sense of urgency.
Right. Yeah, that's the mindset that I like my students to be in is if they encounter a problem like you did, work through it clearly, you know, and as quickly as you can, because it could happen in real life, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if that were real life situation, that probably would have happened just based on the pants or the shorts you were wearing that day. So it was again, it was good seeing you work through that quickly. Like you had that malfunction, and it may have added another second and a half, 2 seconds to the overall reload time. So it wasn't bad at all. It was really good.
We have another question. How many rounds through your CCW gun before you feel comfortable carrying it?
Well, I think it kind of depends on platform, right? If you grew up shooting guns, if you grew up, shooting Glocks primarily, then your CCW is going to be more familiar if it's the same platform. If you're switching platforms, like if I picked up that that's sweet 1911 Colt right there.
1943.
Yeah.
Killed lots of Nazis.
Yeah. Oh,
I think.
All right,
I'm gonna say yes.
I'm gonna quit fantasizing for a second. All right, so it would take me I don't know 100, 200 rounds to be familiar with it of drawing, having that deep retention and then coming out and figuring out exactly the pistol grip that I need, because I can guarantee you the grip on that pistol is different than what my Glock is, just based on.
I will tell you 1,000% yes.
Yeah, just based on the trigger well alone, or trigger guard rather.
A grip, external safety. I mean, it's a hammer.
Yeah.
Like it's completely different.
It is. So, to really answer that question, I really don't know. I think it depends on the type of shooter you are, the type of pistol you have, what you're transferring from, as far as platforms go, if any. So, I can say with confidence that I could take the 1911 right there. Can I take it home? Anyways,
I can let you fondle it.
I say, wait,
yeah,
mine.
I'll
It's
fondle
mine,
it for
guys.
sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, so about 100 to 200 rounds, and oh my god, this is awesome. Woo! Sorry. Anyways, 100, 200 rounds, and I would feel comfortable carrying this, even if it is heavy as crap. This is awesome. Watch out, viewers! I want to get you. That's cool, man. is American history right here, dude.
And if you're like most gun people and you have a whole bunch of different firearms, I would say pick one platform and stay with it. Like, don't be switching up. Like, one day you're carrying your Glock, one day you're carrying your 1911.
Yep.
Yeah.
One day you're carrying your Walther. Like, those are all different. Train with one, be proficient with one, carry that one.
I would agree. I have 2 pistols. I have one pistol. My wife has another one, right? I have got my Glock, and she has her 1911 Colt Defender. I've shot both. I've shot mine a lot more than I've shot hers. Right now, I would not carry hers because I haven't shot it in 5 or 6 months or something like that. It's you have a lot more features to deal with than you do on this Glock right here. I mean, I got to worry about hitting that thumb safety and changing my grip. The grip is the biggest thing because the grip on my Glock is squared and it's kind of pushed, like rounded off and going away from the trigger. So I use that as my support hand index finger is on the front side of that trigger well, and I use that as part of my grip on my Glock. On her Colt and on that Colt right there, I can't do it because the trigger the trigger well is rounded. So I have to change my grip to where all 4 fingers are up underneath that trigger well. So changing platforms every other day or really every other week, I wouldn't recommend that.
We have a question. Where'd it go? Oh, it's from Phil also. What's your opinion on off-body carry? Like a get-home bag and cities where you're not supposed to carry in certain areas. So
I have a small problem with this. And I know that you have a tactical bag that you carry, right? And again, it's all preference. This is my opinion. I would not advise it just because that can be taken off of you and it can be stolen, Or if you are in a scenario where I have to get to it like that, I may not be able to reach in that bag and pull it out and shoot. Whereas on my body, it's here and I'm ready to go. Also, you have to understand with that answer, I have 4 small kids. I have 4 daughters, and I don't want them touching my pistols whatsoever. There's been plenty of times when I'm sure that there's people who have a pistol inside their purse, inside a bag or whatever, and just leave it on the counter, and there's kids running around. There was a small child several years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, who they were at Walmart, and the kid pulled a pistol out of mom's purse and shot the mom right there in Walmart.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
I remember hearing one where same kind of thing was in her purse, and she threw her purse in the back seat for some reason.
Right.
And while she was driving, the kid was playing in her purse, pulled out her gun, shot her through the back seat.
See,
she survived, but
that's that. Hopefully, it was a Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's beside the point. That was Phil, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So Phil, thanks for the other question. That's my opinion. Is that I personally would not. I'm not gonna say never, but I personally would not carry off the body. It's always going to be on my body somewhere. More than likely on my belt. I don't really like the. I mean, they make these compression shirts that have holsters like right here, right? Have you seen those?
I've seen them. I've never tried one.
So my brother-in-law tried one, and he says they suck. They really
it's like
suck.
A deep pocket. It looked like you have to I don't know.
But he says like the draw time is super slow on that. But yeah, it's gonna be on my belt, ready to go. That's why I like the Glock. You don't have to think about it. It's there and just switch the trigger. That's it.
I love it.
Yep.
I'm just looking at Eric.
What? Same thing.
Is it?
Yeah. It has a decocker for double action.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I'm thinking about your 1911.
Oh.
Screw that gun. Walther, come on.
Can't believe you just spoke to this piece of American history with such disrespect.
I mean, that's probably the one reason I don't carry my wife's Colt is because it has that thumb safety on there. I don't like that feature. It's not immediate, you know. Like for instance, the people who carry flashlights on the attachment on the front side of their or underneath the barrel, you know, flashlights or lasers. That's something that you have to turn on while you're shooting. You know, don't get me wrong. I think it's a cool idea. I like it a lot. I've actually used flashlights on my pistols when hunting. You know, because I know I'm going to shoot something. But that's the reason why I don't carry an attachment with my pistol, just because it's not instinctive to reach up and turn it on and then shoot. You know, it's not immediate. Whereas the laser grips on my wife's pistol, as soon as you pick it up and hold it, it's on.
Yeah.
You know.
I like the idea of lights on my pistols.
Right.
Maybe for like a nightstand gun or something.
Yep.
The only thing that worries me is I have kids around the house.
Yeah.
So if I get up in the middle of the night because I hear a sound, I'm going down with my firearm. I have that light on there.
Yep.
I'm going to point that light at someone, which is also my firearm. And
Sure.
what happens if it's my wife or my son?
Certainly. And that comes back to knowing your house and knowing your kids and having your house set up to where you can more easily identify who it is, right? So all of our family stays upstairs, you know, all 6 of us. Good Lord, that's a lot. So
how do you keep track of everyone?
I know. So our downstairs light is almost always on, and we have a light inside the bathroom, and there's also inside our girls' room, they have this little sign that they can put letters on, and it lights up like it's super bright. So upstairs is kind of lit up, especially in nighttime. You can see pretty well. So if someone were to break in, I would feel comfortable grabbing my pistol or my shotgun or my, you know, Ruger 1022 or whatever I want, essentially, and go and make sure that nobody's coming upstairs. And if one of my girls are coming downstairs, I can actually see who they are, you know, because it's kind of lit upstairs.
Brennan says, I took the light off my gun for that exact reason, Steve. Now I have a separate light on my nightstand. Great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I have the same thing. You know, in my nightstand is a nice little flashlight. It's right there, ready to go. Yeah. You know, yeah, I just don't like attachments. People have them all the time, but it's just not for me personally. If I'm going hunting, it's a different story. I want all the attachments I want. I want a freaking thermal
there
scope.
You go.
Oh my gosh, that'd be sweet.
I want that phosphorus night vision goggle set
Yeah.
that I was messing around with.
Give me everything.
I just want. Phil said he just became a Black Site member, so thank you, Phil. I
Hey,
appreciate
sweet.
that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Help support the show.
That's cool.
Which reminds me, I know most people here are Black Site members, but I have this cool little graphic here. What
Let's
think of
do
this? You ready?
Yeah. That is sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Become a member today. It helps support the show.
Oh, and it goes off automatically, too.
Yep. Dude, I have the setup. This is what I've been working on while Eric's away.
Dude, your black side is amazing. This is great.
Phil said fancy.
Yeah. That's awesome.
All right, well, it's 11:30. I think we need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Kyle, I mean, thanks for coming back on.
Man, I'm here whenever you want me, for sure. This is great.
Can't believe we talked for 2 hours.
I know.
I can't. I mean, the last show, I mean, what we did with him. I mean,
it was
like
hour and a half or something like that.
Hour and a half, and then did you stay for Conflicted? You came back for Conflicted?
No,
the
it
next morning?
was
Black
a
Site.
Black Site episode.
Black Site. Okay.
Self-defense myths. That was a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah. I thought you stayed for Conflicted or came back, or we were just talking about that maybe.
Well, if his wife didn't have to work tomorrow, he could be here
gotcha.
live tomorrow
Yeah.
night. We're gonna do this again, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I got my 4 kids, and they would. I love them to death. They would cause havoc in your home while I did this. So it's best to keep them away out of the Black Site.
Yeah. All right, hold on. Let me try this too.
Okay.
It's coming. Don't worry.
Outro music.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's fading in. All right, everyone. I want to say thank you for joining us tonight live. It's like our first real live episode, so I appreciate you being here. We'll be back here tomorrow for Conflicted Hump Day. Have a good one.
Take care, everyone.